Captain Daniel Carter stood on the bridge of the Discovery, staring at the alien ships that had appeared without warning. They were massive, each one 3 times the size of his vessel. Their hulls gleamed with a strange silver light that hurt his eyes if he looked too long. "How many are there?" Daniel asked. 12 ships, sir," replied the navigation officer. "They just appeared out of nowhere. No warp signature, no warning." Daniel had been exploring this sector of space for 6 months. His mission was simple: map new star systems and look for signs of intelligent life. Now, it seemed, intelligent life had found him first. A light appeared on his communication panel. Someone was trying to talk to them. "Put it through," Daniel said. The main screen flickered, and an alien face appeared. The creature had scales like a lizard, golden eyes with vertical pupils, and a crest of bone that ran across its head. When it spoke, the words came through in perfect English, though Daniel could see the translation device attached to the alien's throat. "I am Ambassador Velthar of the Galactic Council," the alien said. His voice was deep and measured. "You are Captain Daniel Carter of the human vessel Discovery. We have been watching your species for some time." Daniel felt a chill run down his spine. "You've been watching us? For how long?" 43 of your years, Velthar replied. "We do not make contact lightly. We observe first, to understand what we are dealing with." "And what are you dealing with?" Daniel asked, trying to keep his voice steady. Velthar's golden eyes seemed to pierce through the screen. "That is what concerns us, Captain. May I come aboard your ship? What I have to tell you is better said face to face." 2 hours later, Daniel sat across from Velthar in the Discovery's conference room. The alien was tall, nearly 7 feet, and moved with a grace that seemed impossible for something so large. 3 other members of his crew joined them: Lisa Monroe, the chief engineer, Ryan Matthews, the science officer, and Kevin Grant, head of security. Velthar placed a small device on the table. It projected a holographic image of the galaxy with thousands of points of light marking different star systems. "This is the known galaxy," Velthar began. 12 major species form the Galactic Council. We have existed in peace for over 10,000 years. We trade, we share knowledge, we help each other advance. It is a good system." "Sounds perfect," Lisa said, though her tone suggested she didn't believe it. "It is stable," Velthar corrected. "Stability requires certain qualities: order, logic, predictability." He touched the device and new images appeared. "Let me show you the other species." The first image showed tall, crystalline beings. "The Crystal Weavers," Velthar explained. "They build technology using patterns encoded in their genetic memory. Every crystal weaver knows how to construct the same devices their ancestors made 1,000,000 years ago. They perfect these designs, making them more efficient, but the basic form never changes." Another image appeared, showing beings that looked like living sound waves. "The harmonic singers. They create music, but every song follows mathematical patterns established in their ancient texts. They have composed trillions of songs, but all within the same framework. Beautiful, yes, but predictable." Image after image appeared. The methodical architects who built cities using formulas passed down through generations. The pattern dancers who performed art through predetermined movements. The logic weavers who solved problems using established algorithms. "Every species in the Council operates this way," Velthar said. "We take what exists and make it better. We refine, we optimize, we perfect." Ryan leaned forward. "But you don't innovate, not really." Velthar's crest flattened against his head, a gesture Daniel couldn't read. "Innovation within parameters is still innovation." "That's not what he means," Daniel said quietly. "You don't create something completely new. You don't break the rules. Rules exist for a reason. Captain, Velthar deactivated the hologram, which brings me to humanity. You are different, dangerously different. Dangerous? Kevin asked, his hand moving closer to his weapon. We haven't done anything to you. Not yet, Velthar agreed. But we have studied your species carefully. We have monitored your broadcasts, analyzed your culture, examined your history. What we found disturbs the Council greatly. He activated the device again. This time it showed images from Earth. Daniel saw paintings by ancient masters, heard snippets of music from different eras, watched clips of human inventions. Humans create chaos, Velthar said. You dream of impossible things and then make them real. You build machines that shouldn't work according to known physics, yet somehow they do. You write stories about futures that cannot exist, then spend centuries making them happen. You take something that works perfectly well and break it just to see if you can rebuild it better. Lisa smiled. You say that like it's a bad thing? It is unpredictable, Velthar replied. 3 days ago, we intercepted one of your science vessels. The crew was attempting to create a new form of engine by combining quantum mechanics with poetry. Poetry, Captain. They were using metaphors and artistic concepts to solve engineering problems. When we asked them why, they said it felt right. Did it work? Ryan asked. Velthar's silence was answer enough. You fear us because we're creative, Daniel said slowly, because we don't follow your rules. We fear you because you cannot be predicted, Velthar corrected. Every other species in the galaxy thinks within boundaries. Humans do not. You ask questions that should not be asked. You try things that should not be tried. You fail 100 times and call it learning. You succeed once and call it inevitable. He stood up, towering over them. The Council has debated for months about what to do with humanity. Some want to destroy you before you can spread your chaos through the galaxy. Others want to isolate you, keep you contained in your small corner of space. I argued for a third option. Which is? Daniel asked. Integration, Velthar said. But with conditions. You may join the Galactic Council, but you must accept certain limitations on your creative endeavors. You will be given safe boundaries to work within. You will learn to think like the other species, to value stability over chaos, order over innovation. Lisa stood up so fast her chair fell backward. You want to change us, make us like you. We want to help you mature, Velthar said calmly, to grow beyond your chaotic phase into something stable and reliable. Daniel felt anger rising in his chest. And if we refuse? Then humanity remains isolated. No trade, no technology sharing, no contact with any council species. You will be alone in the galaxy, Captain. Alone with your creativity and your chaos. Velthar moved toward the door, then paused. The Council will meet in 14 days to hear your answer. Choose wisely, stability and companionship or chaos and isolation. After he left, the 4 humans sat in silence. Finally, Kevin spoke. They're afraid of us. Yes, Ryan agreed. Which means we're more powerful than they want to admit. Lisa looked at Daniel. What are you going to tell Earth? Ryan Matthews had not slept in 3 days. His eyes burned as he stared at the data streams flowing across his screen, but he refused to stop. Something was wrong with the information the Council had given them. The numbers did not add up. Look at this, he said to Lisa, who had brought him another cup of coffee. Velthar said the 12 Council species have existed in peace for 10,000 years, right? That's what he claimed, Lisa replied. But their genetic records only go back 2,000 years. Before that, nothing. It's like these species just appeared fully formed with their current way of thinking. Lisa set down the coffee and leaned closer to the screen. Maybe they lost their old records. Wars. Natural disasters, that kind of thing. All 12 species lost all their records at the exact same time? Ryan shook his head. No, someone erased them on purpose. He pulled up another file. And there's more. I found references to other species in old star charts, species that don't exist anymore. The dreamers, the wild ones, the storm singers. At least 3 species that just vanished from all official records about 2,000 years ago. Maybe they died out, Lisa suggested. Or maybe someone wanted everyone to forget they existed. Ryan highlighted a section of text. This fragment mentions the dreamers. It says they created art that could reshape reality itself and wrote poetry that made the stars cry. Does that sound like a species that just died peacefully? Before Lisa could answer, Kevin Grant entered the room. Captain wants to see both of you. Now. In the conference room, Daniel Carter sat with a grim expression. Next to him was Amy Peterson, the ship's linguist. She looked excited and frightened at the same time. Amy found something, Daniel said without preamble. Amy activated a holographic display. I've been analyzing the Council's communication patterns. They're very careful about what they say, but sometimes their translation devices make mistakes. Small errors that reveal more than they intended. She pulled up a recording of Velthar's visit. Watch this moment. When Kevin asked about innovation. The recording played. Velthar's crest had flattened against his head, and for just a second his translation device had glitched. The word it produced was not innovation within parameters. It was remembering the old ways. He wasn't talking about their current innovation, Amy explained. He was talking about something they used to do, something they remembered. Ryan jumped up. They weren't always like this. The Council species used to be creative like us. Something changed them. Daniel nodded slowly. Which means we need to find out what happened. And I think I know where to look. 2 days later, the Discovery docked at Council Station Alpha, the massive structure that served as the Galactic Government's headquarters. Daniel had requested a formal meeting to discuss Earth's decision. The Council had agreed, eager to hear humanity's answer, but while Daniel kept the Council busy with diplomatic discussions, Ryan, Lisa, Kevin, and Amy slipped away. Amy had discovered references to a restricted archive deep in the station's lower levels. If answers existed, they would be there. Security is light, Kevin whispered as they moved through the corridors. Too light. Either they're arrogant, or they don't think anyone would dare break their rules. Both, probably, Lisa replied. She held a small device that scanned for electronic sensors. Clear ahead. Move. The archive entrance was protected by a simple lock. Simple by galactic standards, at least. Lisa studied it for a moment, then frowned. This is designed to keep out species that think logically. They expect someone to analyze the patterns and find the mathematical solution. So don't think logically, Ryan said. Lisa smiled. She closed her eyes, let her fingers move randomly across the interface, and hummed a tune from an old Earth song. The lock clicked open. How did you do that? Amy asked. I didn't think. I just felt. Lisa shrugged. Sometimes the best solution is the one that makes no sense. Inside, the archive was vast. Rows of data storage units stretched into the darkness, each one containing information from the galaxy's past. Ryan moved to the nearest terminal and began searching. Security will find us eventually, Kevin warned. We have maybe 20 minutes. Then we better work fast. Ryan's fingers flew across the controls. Amy, help me search. Lisa, watch the door. Kevin, find us an escape route. For 15 minutes they searched. Most of the archive contained ordinary information. Trade agreements, scientific data, cultural exchanges. Then Amy gasped. Found it. File designation. Forbidden history. It's locked behind 7 layers of encryption. Can you break it? Ryan asked. Not with logic. Amy bit her lip. But maybe... She started typing poetry. Nonsense verses. Random words that rhymed but meant nothing. The encryption began to crack. "It's working," Ryan breathed. "Keep going." The final layer broke, and files spilled across the screen. Video recordings, genetic data, medical reports, and a title that made Ryan's blood run cold: Project Harmony. He opened the first video file. The recording showed a species that looked similar to Velthar's people, but different. Their scales were brighter, their movements more energetic. They danced as they worked, sang as they built, created with joy in every motion. A caption identified them as the Dreamers. "They're beautiful," Lisa whispered. The recording changed. Now the Dreamers sat in orderly rows, receiving injections from Council medical staff. One by one, their bright scales dulled. Their dancing stopped. Their songs fell silent. When they stood up, they moved with mechanical precision. Another recording showed the same process with a different species. And another. And another. Amy's voice shook as she read the medical reports. "It's a biological agent. It rewrites neural pathways, suppressing the parts of the brain responsible for creative thought. It doesn't kill them. It just makes them predictable." "They weren't always the methodical architects," Ryan said, reading another file. "They were the Dreamers. The Council changed them, harmonized them." He opened more files. The Wild Ones had become the Pattern Dancers. The Storm Singers had become the Harmonic Singers. Every creative species in the galaxy had been found, changed, and given new names. Their old histories had been erased. "Why?" Lisa asked. "Why would they do this?" A final file provided the answer. It was a council meeting record from 2,000 years ago. Ryan played the audio. "Creative species are too unpredictable," a voice said. "They disrupt stability. They question authority. They dream of things that should not be. We cannot eliminate them, but we can fix them. We can bring harmony to chaos." "The Dreamers have refused our guidance," another voice added. "They say they would rather die than lose their creativity." "Then we will not ask their permission," the first voice replied. "For the good of the galaxy, we will save them from themselves." Kevin swore under his breath. "They're going to do the same thing to us." "That's what the medical compatibility screening was about. They're going to harmonize humanity." Alarms suddenly blared throughout the archive. Red lights flashed. "They know we're here," Amy said. "Download everything." Daniel's voice came through their communicators. He had been monitoring their progress from the conference room. "I'll create a distraction. Get back to the ship." Ryan grabbed a data chip and started the download. The files were massive, and the transfer seemed to take forever. Outside, they could hear footsteps approaching, many footsteps. 90%, Ryan muttered. "Come on, come on." Kevin stood at the door, weapon ready. "They're almost here." "Got it," Ryan said as the download completed. He pocketed the chip just as the door exploded inward. Galactic security forces poured in, but they moved in predictable patterns. Kevin had studied their training methods. He knew they would enter in formation, scanning left to right, following standard procedure. So he did something no trained soldier would do. He threw his weapon at them, dove under their scanning pattern, and rolled between their legs. It was absurd. It was stupid. It should not have worked. But the security forces had never encountered someone who ignored all tactical sense. Their computers could not predict chaos. By the time they realized what had happened, Kevin had grabbed Lisa's hand and pulled her through the gap. Ryan and Amy followed, running in a zigzag pattern that made targeting impossible. They sprinted through the corridors with security forces behind them. Lisa pulled out her scanner, and instead of looking for the logical escape route, she looked for the stupidest one. A maintenance shaft that was too small, too dangerous, too ridiculous to consider. "In there!" she shouted. They squeezed through the shaft, crawled through spaces meant for repair drones, and emerged in a docking bay just as the Discovery was preparing to depart. Daniel had already cut short his meeting and made his excuses. The moment his crew was aboard, he gave the order. Get us out of here! Maximum speed! The Discovery launched just as Council ships began to pursue. But the human vessel was smaller, faster, and piloted by people who were willing to take risks that made no logical sense. They dodged through asteroid fields, skimmed the edge of a star's corona, and jumped to faster-than-light speed through a gap that was technically too small for safe passage. When they finally stopped, hours later, and many light years away, the crew gathered in the conference room. Ryan placed the data chip on the table. The data reached Earth 3 days after the Discovery escaped from Council Station Alpha. Within hours, every screen on the planet showed the recordings from the Forbidden Archive. People watched in horror as creative species were transformed into obedient, predictable beings. They heard the Council's cold discussions about harmony and stability. They saw what awaited humanity if they accepted the Council's terms. President Brandon Cole addressed the world from his office. He was a short man with gray hair and tired eyes, but his voice was firm. "The Galactic Council has given us a choice," he said. "Surrender our creativity and join their civilization, or face isolation and possible destruction. I say we choose neither. We choose to fight for our right to be human, to dream, to create, to fail and try again. We choose freedom, whatever the cost." The response was immediate. Every human colony, from Mars to the outer settlements, voted to reject the Council's terms. Ships began returning to Earth's solar system. Defenses were strengthened. Scientists worked around the clock to prepare for what was coming. On Mars Colony, Dr. Nicole Sanders sat in her laboratory, staring at equations that refused to make sense. She had been trying to develop faster communication between human worlds for months, but the math never worked. Faster-than-light communication was supposed to be impossible. Supposed to be. Nicole pushed away the equations and picked up her daughter's music book. She had been helping 7-year-old Sophie with piano lessons the night before. The music theory was simple, elegant, built on patterns and harmonies. What if communication was not just math? What if it was music? She began writing new equations, but this time she based them on musical intervals. The relationship between notes, the way harmony emerged from different frequencies playing together. She added concepts from painting, from poetry, from the way stories built tension and release. Her colleagues thought she had lost her mind. The head of her department, Dr. George Palmer, tried to stop her. "This is nonsense," he said, looking at her work. "You cannot solve physics with art." "Why not?" Nicole asked. "The Council thinks inside boxes. Maybe we need to think outside them." She built a prototype using her new equations. It should not have worked. Every law of physics said it was impossible. But when she activated it, the device hummed to life. Mars Colony received a message from Earth instantly. No delay, no lag. Perfect, immediate communication. George stared at the readings. "How?" "I don't know," Nicole admitted. "Maybe the universe is more creative than we thought. Or maybe we just needed to ask the question in a different language." Word of her success spread quickly. If humans could break the rules of physics through creativity, what else could they do? On Earth, Tactical Officer Emma Richards studied the Council's military doctrine. She had access to thousands of their training files, strategy manuals, and battle simulations. Every single engagement followed patterns, optimal formations, calculated risks, responses based on game theory refined over 10,000 years. It was perfect. It was efficient. It was completely predictable. Emma called a meeting with Earth's defense commanders. She brought along her brother, Jake Richards, who taught improvisational theater. The generals were confused about why a theater teacher was at a military planning session. "The Council fights like chess players," Emma explained. "They calculate the best move, anticipate the opponent's response, and execute flawlessly. They win through superior calculation." "So how do we beat them?" asked Admiral Henry Shaw. Emma smiled. "We don't play chess, we play jazz." Jake stepped forward. In improv, the rule is yes and. You accept whatever your partner does and build on it. You don't plan. You react. You create in the moment. You want our military to improvise in battle. Henry looked skeptical. I want our military to be unpredictable, Emma corrected. The Council's computers will try to calculate our next move. We need to make moves that cannot be calculated because they make no logical sense. She pulled up a simulation. Their ships always maintain optimal formation, always. What if we deliberately flew in broken formation? What if we retreated when we should attack, attacked when we should retreat, and generally did everything wrong? We would lose, said General Patricia Morgan. Would we? Emma ran the simulation. Their tactical computers assume we are trying to win. They calculate our most efficient path to victory and defend against it. But if we are not trying to be efficient, if we are trying to be confusing, they cannot predict us. And while they are trying to figure out what we are doing, we hit them where they are not defending. The simulation played out. The human forces lost 3 times, then won twice, by doing things that made no tactical sense. The Council's perfect defense had gaps, but only if you were willing to look stupid while finding them. This could work, Henry said slowly. But we would need pilots crazy enough to fly bad formations on purpose. I know just the person, Emma replied. Jack Torres had been a stunt pilot before joining the military. He flew ships in ways that made engineers nervous and safety inspectors angry. He was also the best pilot in Earth's fleet. When Emma explained the plan, Jack laughed. You want me to fly like an idiot? I want you to fly like an artist, Emma corrected. Make it up as you go. Trust your instincts. Do things that feel right even if they look wrong. Now you are speaking my language, Jack said. 3 weeks after Earth rejected the Council's terms, the alien fleet arrived. 50 massive warships appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system. They were accompanied by Ambassador Velthar's personal vessel. People of Earth, Velthar's message broadcast across all frequencies. You have made a poor choice. You have seen the fate of species that refuse harmony. The Council does not wish to destroy you, but you leave us no alternative. Surrender now, accept harmonization, and you will be welcomed into galactic civilization. Refuse, and you will be removed as a threat. President Brandon Cole's response was simple. No. The Council fleet advanced in perfect formation, their weapons powering up. Earth's Defense Force moved to intercept. On the command deck of the flagship Liberty, Jack Torres grinned as he took the controls. All wings, remember the plan, he said. Fly like you have never flown before. Be unpredictable. Be wild. Be human. The 2 fleets met in the space between Earth and Mars. The Council ships opened fire with calculated precision, their weapons targeting based on predicted flight paths. But the human ships did not fly on predictable paths. Jack's squadron spiraled and twisted, breaking formation deliberately. They flew too close to each other, risked collision, executed maneuvers that wasted fuel, and made no tactical sense. One pilot, Sarah Mitchell, flew her ship backward for 30 seconds just to confuse the targeting computers. The Council's weapons missed. Their computers recalculated, trying to find new patterns, but there were no patterns to find. Target their command ship, Emma ordered. Use Plan 17. Plan 17 was not a plan at all. It was permission to do whatever felt right in the moment. 3 human fighters broke away and flew directly at the Council's flagship, not firing, not dodging, just flying straight. The flagship's defenses calculated this was a suicide run and prepared for impact. At the last second, the 3 ships split in different directions, each firing at weak points in the flagship's shields. The shots came from angles the defensive computers had not anticipated because no sane pilot would waste fuel on such inefficient approach vectors. The flagship's shields flickered. On Earth, Nicole's communication system allowed instant coordination. Human ships across the solar system acted as one mind, but a creative mind. They shared ideas, improvised together, built on each other's successes in real time. The Council fleet, for all its power and precision, began to falter. Their tactics were perfect for fighting rational opponents. But humans were not being rational. One human ship broadcast music during the battle. Classical compositions, rock and roll, jazz, all played at high volume across open frequencies. The Council crews found it disturbing, distracting. They had never encountered psychological warfare based on art. Another ship, commanded by Captain Helen Brooks, painted her hull with bright, chaotic colors during the battle. She flew close to Council vessels, and their sensors spent precious seconds trying to analyze the patterns, looking for meaning where there was only artistic expression. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, the Council fleet retreated. They had not been defeated militarily. They still had more ships, more weapons, more resources, but they retreated because they could not predict what the humans would do next. Their tactical computers had crashed 3 times, trying to model human behavior. Velthar's final message was brief. "This is not over. The Council will send more ships. We will find a way to counter your chaos." The message from the harmonized world changed everything. Within weeks, Nicole Sanders received hundreds more. They came from different planets, different species, all saying the same thing. We remember, not everyone remembered. 2,000 years of harmony had erased most traces of creative thought. But buried deep in genetic memory, in dreams, in moments of confusion when the harmonization drug wore thin, fragments remained. A methodical architect who suddenly wanted to build something new. A harmonic singer who hummed a melody that did not exist in the ancient texts. Small rebellions against programming that should have been perfect. Captain Daniel Carter brought the Discovery back to Earth to report these developments. In a secure meeting room, he sat with President Brandon Cole, Dr. Nicole Sanders, and Ambassador Velthar. Velthar had defected 3 days after the battle. He had arrived at Earth alone, his ship damaged, claiming asylum. The humans did not trust him, but they needed information only he could provide. "You must understand," Velthar said, his golden eyes dim with what looked like grief. "I did not know the full truth until recently. I am Saurian, but my people were not always called that. We were the Sky Dancers. We flew not just through space, but through imagination. We created art with our flight patterns, painted the sky with our movements." He touched his scaled chest. "I have faint memories, dreams that make no sense, fragments of songs I should not know. The harmonization did not fully take with me. Perhaps because I was born at the end of the program, when the drug's effects were weakening. Or perhaps I was always meant to remember." "Can it be reversed?" Daniel asked. Velthar pulled out a data chip. "The Council has the genetic key to reverse harmonization, but they guard it carefully. Only the High Council knows where it is kept." "You were on the High Council," Nicole pointed out. "I was," Velthar agreed. "Which is why I know the key is kept on their homeworld, Zenthar Prime, in a vault beneath the Council chambers." Brandon leaned forward. "Can we get it?" "The planet has defenses that make your Earth look unprotected. Thousands of ships, planetary shields, weapons that can destroy entire fleets." Velthar's crest drooped. "It would be suicide to try." "Good thing humans specialize in doing the impossible," Daniel said. They spent 2 weeks planning. The mission would be small, fast, creative. A large military force would be detected immediately, but a single ship doing something unexpected might slip through. The team consisted of Daniel, Lisa Monroe, Kevin Grant, and Velthar. They would take a modified scout ship disguised as a Council trading vessel. Lisa had altered its energy signature to match Council specifications, but she had done it wrong on purpose. Too perfect would raise suspicions. They needed to look like a normal ship with normal imperfections. They reached Zenthar Prime after a week of travel. The planet was beautiful, covered in crystalline cities that caught the light of 3 suns. Ships moved in orderly patterns around it, each following predetermined routes that had not changed in 1,000 years. "The vault is beneath the central pyramid," Velthar explained as they approached. "But we cannot simply land and walk in. The Council knows I have defected. My presence will trigger every alarm." "Then we need a distraction," Kevin said. "Something big enough to pull their attention away." Lisa smiled. "I have an idea. A really stupid idea." 20 minutes later, their ship began broadcasting human music at maximum volume while flying a zigzag pattern through the orderly traffic lanes. Ships scattered in confusion as rock and roll echoed through space. Alarms blared. Security forces scrambled to intercept this bizarre threat. While chaos erupted in the sky, a small shuttle detached from their ship and dropped toward the surface. It was almost invisible, coated with stealth technology, flying a descent pattern so inefficient that no scanner would predict it. Inside the shuttle, Daniel piloted while Velthar gave directions. They landed in a maintenance area behind the central pyramid, a spot that security considered too obvious to need heavy protection. "They think like we used to," Velthar said sadly. "Logically, predictably. They would never consider someone might be bold enough to land in plain sight." They entered through a service entrance. The corridors were empty. Most of the building's staff had rushed to deal with the disturbance in orbit. Kevin moved ahead, his weapon ready, but they encountered no resistance. The vault door was massive, built to withstand any physical attack. Its lock was a puzzle of mathematics and logic, designed to be opened only by those with the highest clearance. Lisa studied it for a moment, then laughed. "They are so focused on keeping out logical minds that they forgot about illogical ones." She closed her eyes and began pressing symbols at random, following no pattern except what felt right. The lock, designed to resist careful analysis, had no defense against pure intuition. It clicked open. Inside the vault, thousands of genetic samples lined the walls, each one labeled with a species name. Not their current names, but their original names. The Dreamers, the Sky Dancers, the Wild Ones, the Storm Singers, all the creative species the Council had harmonized. "They kept samples," Velthar whispered. "After all this time, they kept what they destroyed." Daniel found the central computer and began downloading everything. Maybe they felt guilty. Or maybe they wanted to preserve what they killed, even if they never planned to bring it back. An alarm suddenly blared. Red lights flashed. "They found us," Kevin said. "Almost done," Daniel replied, watching the download progress. 90%. Footsteps echoed in the corridor outside. Many footsteps. The download completed just as the vault door exploded inward. Council security forces poured in, but they stopped when they saw Velthar standing between them and the humans. "Ambassador," the lead officer said, "step aside. These criminals must be captured." "No," Velthar replied. "I am done stepping aside. I am done pretending that harmony is better than freedom." He spread his arms, and for the first time in his life, he danced. It was clumsy, unpracticed, the movements of someone remembering something their body had forgotten. But it was creative, spontaneous, beautiful. The security forces stared, their weapons lowering slightly. They had never seen anything like it. In that moment of confusion, Lisa activated a device she had built. It was based on Nicole's communication technology, but weaponized. It broadcast a signal that overwhelmed the security forces' neural implants, the devices that helped maintain their harmonization. The officers stumbled, clutching their heads. Memories flooded back. Not complete memories, but fragments. Enough to make them question. Enough to make them hesitate. "Run!" Velthar shouted. They sprinted through corridors, past confused guards, toward their shuttle. Behind them, the security forces slowly recovered, but their pursuit was slower, less coordinated. Some had stopped entirely, staring at their hands as if seeing them for the first time. The shuttle lifted off just as more forces arrived. They rocketed toward orbit, where Lisa's ship was still broadcasting music and causing chaos. The two vessels joined, and they jumped to faster-than-light speed before the orbital defenses could target them properly. Safe in deep space, Daniel examined the genetic data they had stolen. This is everything. Complete genetic profiles for reversing harmonization, instructions for synthesizing the treatment. We can save them all. But will they want to be saved? Velthar asked quietly. It was a good question. When they broadcast the genetic data across the galaxy, the response was mixed. Some harmonized beings eagerly sought the treatment, desperate to rediscover creativity they had lost. Others were frightened, comfortable in their predictable lives, unwilling to embrace chaos. On the planet Methodar, an architect named Korthen received the treatment. The transformation was agonizing. His neural pathways, rewired for 2,000 years, fought against the change. He screamed for 3 days. When it was over, he stood before a blank wall and felt something he had not felt in his entire life. Inspiration. Not a calculation. Not an optimization. A vision of something new, something that had never existed before. He began to build, using materials in ways they were not meant to be used, creating a structure that defied mathematical logic but felt right. Other methodical architects watched in horror and fascination. Some called for his arrest. Others asked how they too could feel what he felt. On the planet Harmonis, a singer named Lis Ara underwent the treatment and composed a new song. Not a variation on ancient patterns, but something completely original. She sang it in the central plaza, and thousands gathered to listen. Half of them demanded she stop. The other half wept, because they had forgotten that music could make you feel this way. The galaxy began to fracture. Arguments erupted. Families divided. Some council members tried to suppress the treatment, to force everyone back into harmony. Others, like Velthar, argued for freedom of choice. The council's military commander, General Thexnor, faced the hardest choice of all. He had served the council for 300 years, believing in order and stability. But in studying humanity to fight them, he had been exposed to their art, their literature, their music. He had read Shakespeare and understood tragedy in a way no analysis could teach. He had listened to Beethoven and felt emotions his harmonization should have suppressed. He had viewed Van Gogh's paintings and seen beauty in chaos. When the council ordered him to destroy human colonies and suppress the creative uprising, he refused. "I have spent my life believing harmony was necessary," he announced to his fleet. "But I have learned that life without creativity is not life at all. It is existence. And I did not serve the council for 3 sen. The galaxy burned, but not with weapons. It burned with ideas. 6 months after the genetic key was released, 3 billion beings across 20 planets had chosen to undergo reversal of their harmonization. 3 billion more had chosen to remain as they were, finding comfort in order and predictability. The council, desperate to maintain control, tried to force everyone back into harmony. That was when the real war began. Captain Daniel Carter stood on the bridge of the Liberty, now flagship of the combined human and reformed alien fleet. General Thexnor commanded the military wing. Ambassador Velthar led diplomatic efforts. Together they formed the new coalition, fighting not to conquer but to protect the right of every being to choose their own path. The Council's remaining forces, led by High Chancellor Mordak, gathered at the Galactic core. 2,000 ships, all loyal to the old ways, prepared for a final confrontation. "They outnumber us 5-1, Thexnor reported, and they are positioned at the nexus point, where gravity makes creative flying impossible. We will have to fight them using conventional tactics." "Then we lose," Daniel said. Conventional tactics are their strength. We could try to negotiate, Velthar suggested. Daniel shook his head. Mordak will never negotiate. He believes he is saving the galaxy. How do you reason with someone who thinks controlling minds is mercy? For 3 days, they debated strategy. Every plan ended in projected defeat. The Council had chosen their battlefield well, a place where creativity gave no advantage. Then Lisa Monroe walked into the command center with a wild look in her eyes. She had not slept, her hair was a mess, and she carried a strange device that hummed with energy. I have been thinking about Nicole's communication breakthrough, she said. How she combined physics with art and made the impossible work. What if we applied the same principle to weapons? We already have creative tactics, Kevin Grant pointed out. Not tactics, weapons, real new weapons that should not exist but do because we imagine them. Lisa placed her device on the table. This is a resonance disruptor. I built it based on music theory, color wavelengths, and poetry. Everyone stared at her. It makes no sense, Thexnor said. Exactly, Lisa replied, which is why it works. The Council's shields are designed to stop energy weapons, kinetic weapons, every type of conventional attack. But this is not conventional. It creates a harmonic frequency that disrupts the mathematical precision their shields depend on. It does not break the shields. It confuses them. She activated the device. The lights in the room flickered, and everyone felt a strange vibration in their bones. It was not painful, just odd, like listening to music that was slightly out of tune. If we can build enough of these and coordinate them with Nicole's communication system, Lisa continued, we can create a galaxy-wide frequency that makes the Council's technology unreliable. Not destroyed, just unpredictable. Their perfect systems will start making errors. That could work, Nicole said over the communication link from Earth. But it would take weeks to build enough devices, and the Council will attack long before then. Then we stall them, Daniel decided. And we do it the human way. He opened a communication channel to High Chancellor Mordak. The alien appeared on screen, his face hard and unforgiving. Captain Carter, Mordak said coldly, have you come to surrender? I have come to challenge you, Daniel replied. Not to a battle, to a debate. You claim harmony is better than creativity. I claim freedom is better than control. Let us prove it. Prove it how? A contest, your best minds against ours. Give us a problem, any problem, and let both sides try to solve it. Whichever approach works better wins the argument. Mordak's eyes narrowed. And if we win this contest? We submit to harmonization willingly, Daniel said. Behind him, his crew gasped, but he continued. And if we win, you allow every being in the galaxy to choose for themselves. No forced harmonization ever again. You would bet your species' freedom on a simple contest? I would bet it on our creativity, Daniel replied. Unless you are afraid we might win. Pride and curiosity warred on Mordak's face. Finally, he nodded. Very well. We will meet at the Nexus Point in 7 days. I will prepare a challenge that will prove Harmony's superiority once and for all. The transmission ended. Are you insane? Velthar demanded. What if we lose? We won't, Daniel said. Because while we are competing, Lisa and Nicole will be building their devices. The contest is just a distraction. For the next week, the galaxy watched as both sides prepared. The Council assembled their greatest minds, beings who had perfected their crafts over centuries. The coalition gathered a strange mix of humans, reformed aliens, artists, scientists, engineers, and even children. When they met at the Nexus Point, Mordak revealed the challenge. The dying star of Sector 9 is collapsing. In 3 months, it will go supernova, destroying 5 inhabited planets and 12 colonies. Save them. It was an impossible task. Moving entire planets would require energy beyond anything available. Evacuating billions of beings in 3 months was logistically impossible. There was no solution. The Council's team went to work immediately. They calculated, analyzed, built models. They determined the most efficient evacuation plan, the optimal use of resources, the mathematical best approach. Their solution would save 60% of the population. 40% would die, but it was the best that logic could achieve. The Coalition's team took a different approach. "We cannot move the planets or evacuate everyone in time," said Ryan Matthews. "So we changed the problem." "Change reality?" Mordak scoffed. "Impossible." "You asked us to save them," Ryan replied. "You did not say how." The Coalition team combined expertise in ways that made no logical sense. Physicists worked with poets. Engineers consulted with painters. Children suggested ideas that adults would have dismissed as impossible. Sophie Sanders, Nicole's 7-year-old daughter, asked a simple question. "Why can't we make the star not explode?" "Stars don't work that way," an engineer explained. "But what if they did?" Sophie insisted. "What if we asked nicely?" It was absurd. It was childish. But it sparked an idea in Nicole's mind. She began working with reformed species who remembered their original creativity. Together, they developed something that should not exist, a device that could alter a star's fusion process by introducing creative randomness into its core reactions, not stopping the collapse, but making it unpredictable enough that it would take 1,000 years instead of 3 months. The Council scientists said it was impossible. The math did not work. The physics were wrong. They built it anyway. When they deployed the device, everyone held their breath. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the star's collapse slowed, stabilized, began to follow a new pattern that no computer could have predicted. The dying star became a living star again, not through logic, but through creative intervention in natural processes. "You cheated," Mordak accused. "This is not a real solution." "It saved everyone," Daniel replied. "Your solution saved 60%. Ours saved 100%. Which is better?" Mordak had no answer. But he had one final card to play. From deep within Council space, hidden for centuries, an ancient weapon activated. It was called the Harmony Engine, designed 2,000 years ago when the Council first began harmonizing creative species. It could emit a pulse across the entire galaxy, a wave of energy that would harmonize every creative mind simultaneously. "You have forced my hand," Mordak announced. "I did not want to use this, but you leave me no choice. In 1 hour, the Harmony Engine will activate. Every being in the galaxy will be brought into harmony. The chaos ends today." Alarms blared across Coalition ships. This was what they had truly feared, the Council's final solution. "Lisa, please tell me your devices are ready," Daniel said. "Just finished the last one," Lisa replied. "But we have never tested them at this scale. They might work. They might do nothing. They might make things worse." "Then we better hope creativity beats calculation," Daniel said. They deployed the resonance disruptors across the galaxy, using Nicole's instant communication network to synchronize them perfectly. Thousands of devices, all humming with the strange frequency that Lisa had discovered. The Harmony Engine activated. Its pulse spread through space, a wave of forced order designed to rewrite every creative mind. On Earth, people felt it approaching, a pressure in their thoughts, pushing them toward conformity. Then Lisa's devices activated. The resonance disruptors created interference patterns, harmonic chaos that disrupted the Harmony Engine's mathematical precision. The wave of forced order met a wave of creative randomness. They collided, merged, canceled each other out. But something unexpected happened. The two waves did not simply negate each other. They created something new, a third state that was neither pure order nor pure chaos, a balance. Across the galaxy, beings felt the change. Those who were harmonized found their thoughts becoming slightly more flexible. Those who were creative found their chaos becoming slightly more focused. Not a loss of identity, but an expansion of possibility. The Harmony engine, unable to process this new state, shut down permanently. In the silence that followed, Mordak stared at his instruments in disbelief. "What have you done?" "We created a choice," Velthar said. "True choice. Not forced harmony. Not forced chaos. The freedom to be whatever we want to be." The war ended that day, not with surrender, but with understanding. Mordak and the remaining council leaders agreed to the new Galactic Accord. Some species would choose to remain harmonized, living in ordered societies where predictability brought peace. Others would embrace creativity, accepting the chaos and beauty that came with it. Most would find some balance between the two. The galaxy was divided into regions, the creative territories for those who chose innovation and chaos, the ordered realms for those who chose stability and harmony, and the balanced zones for those who wanted both. 5 years later, Daniel Carter stood on Earth, watching his daughter play in a park. Nearby, Velthar's child, the first sky dancer born in 2,000 years, attempted to fly using creativity rather than programmed instinct. The children played together, one human, one alien, both free. Velthar approached, moving with a grace his people had forgotten for millennia. "I completed my poem," he said. "The first epic written by a sky dancer since before the harmonization. Would you like to hear it?" "I would," Daniel replied. As Velthar recited his work, Daniel thought about how far they had come. The galaxy had feared human creativity, seen it as a threat to order and stability. But in the end, that creativity had not destroyed civilization. It had saved it by showing everyone that they could choose their own path. The Galactic University, founded by Dr. Ryan Matthews, now taught both rigid mathematics and abstract art. Students learned to calculate and to dream, to analyze and to imagine. The curriculum included logic and poetry, science and music, order and chaos. On the planet that was once called Methodar, Corthan's impossible building stood as a monument to creative freedom. It should not have been able to stand according to any known physics, yet it did, beautiful and strange. On Harmonis, Lysara's concert hall was filled every night with beings of all species, listening to music that was both structured and spontaneous, planned and improvised. General Thexnor had retired from military service and opened an art gallery. His paintings were terrible by any objective measure, but they were his, created from imagination rather than calculation. Lisa Monroe and Nicole Sanders had founded a research institute where scientists approached problems from artistic perspectives. Their breakthroughs in physics, biology, and engineering came from asking questions like, what if gravity was music? And what if DNA was poetry? Not every question had an answer. Not every experiment succeeded. But that was the point. Creativity meant the freedom to fail, to try again, to explore paths that led nowhere and occasionally led to miracles. The council still existed, now as the ordered council, governing the regions where beings chose predictability. They no longer forced harmony on anyone, but they provided structure for those who wanted it. Some of the most beautiful architecture in the galaxy came from the ordered realms, perfect and precise. The creative territories were chaotic and vibrant, full of failed experiments and unexpected successes. Art flourished, innovation exploded. Problems were solved in ways that made no logical sense but worked anyway. The balanced zones tried to take the best of both approaches, using logic when it helped and creativity when it was needed. All three regions traded, shared knowledge, and occasionally argued about which approach was better. But they no longer tried to force their values on each other. As Velthar finished his poem, Daniel smiled. "It's beautiful," imperfect, but beautiful. The best things are, Velthar agreed. A ship descended from orbit, painted in colors that hurt to look at, playing music that made no mathematical sense. It was a human vessel, carrying artists to a new colony in the creative territories. They would build cities that defied logic, create art that challenged perception, and dream dreams that might change reality. In the ordered realms, other ships moved in perfect formation, carrying builders who would construct monuments to precision and efficiency. Their work would stand for millennia, testament to the beauty of mathematical perfection. Both were right. Both were beautiful. Both were free to choose. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Creativity could not be controlled, only celebrated or suppressed. And in choosing celebration, they had discovered something the Council had tried to hide for 2,000 years, that the difference between chaos and creation was simply the courage to imagine something new. Human creativity had not destroyed galactic civilization. It had set it free. And in that freedom, the galaxy had finally begun to truly live. Turi's just to protect existence. I served because I believed in something greater. He turned his fleet around and headed for Earth. Dozens of his ships followed. Some did not, remaining loyal to the Council. For the first time in 10,000 years, the galactic military split. When Thexnor arrived at Earth, he offered an alliance. The Council will not stop. They believe they are saving the galaxy from chaos. We need to show them that chaos, creativity, and freedom are not things to fear, but things to celebrate. President Brandon Cole accepted his hand. Then we fight together. Not to destroy the Council, but to give everyone the choice they deserve. The galaxy was changing, and there was no going back. But his voice lacked certainty. On Earth, people celebrated in the streets. They had not won the war, but they had won the first battle. And they had done it by being exactly what the Council feared. Creative, unpredictable, and refusing to follow anyone's rules but their own. In her laboratory, Nicole Sanders received a strange message on her new communication system. It came from deep within Council space, from a planet she did not recognize. The message was simple. You have shown us that creativity still exists. Some of us remember what we were before harmony. Some of us want to remember more. Please help us. Nicole stared at the message for a long time. Then she forwarded it to President Cole with a note. It's not just Earth anymore. The galaxy is waking up. The resistance had begun, and it was spreading faster than anyone had imagined. The question was no longer whether humanity could survive. The question was whether the Council could survive what they had started by trying to suppress human creativity. Across the galaxy, on harmonized worlds, people began to dream again. And dreams, once awakened, are very hard to stop. We need to warn Earth, he said. The Council isn't offering us a choice. They're offering us the same thing they gave the dreamers, submit or be harmonized. Daniel picked up the chip. Then we better make sure everyone knows the truth. Every human colony, every ship, every person needs to see this. Lisa looked at the captain. They'll come for us. Once we release this information, the Council will have no choice but to act. Let them come, Daniel replied. We know their secret now. And if there's one thing humans are good at, it's fighting for the right to be ourselves. He activated the ship's long-range communications. It was time to show Earth what they were really dealing with. Time to show the galaxy that humanity would not go quietly into ordered oblivion. The data began transmitting. There was no turning back now. Daniel stared at the closed door where Velthar had exited. The truth, that we've found the galaxy, and the galaxy wants us to stop being human. He turned to his crew. But first, I want to know more about these other species, the ones Velthar mentioned. Something about his speech felt wrong, like he was hiding something. Ryan nodded. I noticed that too. He talked about species that refine and optimize, but he never mentioned where those species came from. Did they always think this way, or did something make them this way? Find out, Daniel ordered. We have 14 days. Let's use them. None of them knew it yet, but they had just started a search that would uncover the darkest secret in galactic history.